Very nice to be with all of you. I was meditating, just waiting for this to start, and thinking about the words healing, because that was the word we're using, healing from rejection. It's a very poignant topic because any of us who have been through any experience like that, it's an intensely difficult thing to happen. Last night in a satsang that I was giving here, I'm presently in Mumbai, the ashram, somebody at the very end asked the question, why do we long so much to be loved and understood by other human beings? And it's actually made me think about it in a very different way. You know, this world is given to us so that we can understand the power and the presence of God and gurus in our lives. We get very caught up in all the details of our experience, and we lose track of the central reason why we're here. And what we are here to do is to become ourselves like Divine Mother. And Divine Mother's perfection is her unconditional love for us. And the premise of unconditional love is that there has to be complete freedom in the individual, which is, I don't need anything from you. This is how God relates to us. God needs nothing from us. The masters need nothing from us. It's so hard for us to understand because we are so, even if we're generous in our spirit, we're vulnerable. We just have this tremendous need to be loved and understood. And the only way that we can gradually come to understand who we are in reality and what our true relationship is with the divine is through experience. I mean, Master can tell us, I can tell you, you can tell each other, you can tell yourself, oh, I should be detached, oh, I should be independent. We can say all these things, and honestly, God laughs at us listening to us talk, you know, because we have a very, very deep need to be loved and understood. Swamiji once commented on it. He was talking specifically about soulmates. This was in the context of the book, the last book that he wrote was Love Perfected, Life Divine, which was a rewrite of a novel from 100 years ago, written by Marie Corelli, who was a very, very well-known writer during that time. She wrote about spiritual themes, which was very laudable, but sometimes her themes were bigger than she was, is how Swami put it. So that particular novel, which was called Life Everlasting, was a really beautiful novel. And in fact, through the years at Ananda Village, a lot of us read a lot of Marie Corelli's novels because they were, relatively speaking, delightful and uplifting. But Swami felt that soulmates, which is what she was writing about, was a little bigger than she was. And he decided that he would rewrite that book. And that's, you know, basically the story. And in a conversation that I had with Swamiji in Los Angeles, Narayani and Swami and I were together. And Swami just said like this, Divine Mother, God, I mean, we all, again, this was just Swami saying, we all have the desire to be loved. He said, not just impersonally by God, but personally by another human being. And there was no, when Swami said that, there was no equivocation around it. It wasn't, well, we really ought not to feel this way. Well, we'll just outgrow this. Nothing. He just said, this is how we're made. And then just on the subject of soulmates, he said, God would not plant such a deep desire in our hearts if he didn't also intend to fulfill it. And this is talking about soulmates, not just the way people talk about it now. People talk about it now and it means romance, it often means passion, it means, you know, all these different things. He was talking about soulmates the way Master talked about it, and Master only talked about it once, because the Swami said if he talked about soulmates, everyone would have forgotten completely about God and just gone after for their soulmate, because that desire is so powerful. Master was talking about the kind of union between, he said everything in this world is dual, so it's quite reasonable to think that we ourselves are dual and that there really is a destined other half. He actually proposed that the real relationship between Sri Yukteswar and Master was that they were soulmates, and that Babaji was Master's actual guru and Sri Yukteswar was his other half. I have absolutely no qualifications to comment on that, but it was an amazing and interesting. And Master said, before final liberation, we must be reunited with our soulmate. But then Master said, but your soulmate could be on another planet, and your union with your soulmate could be just in vision. So we're not talking about romance. We're definitely not talking about sexual attraction. We're talking about something that just transcends all of this. Now, the reason I'm starting there is because we have to see everything that happens in the human world in relation to what the highest principles are. So from a devotee's point of view, if we're talking about having our hearts broken, which our hearts get broken by deep and profound human disappointment. And we have the word healing. I think a more dynamic word, a more clear word in the context is calm acceptance. Just acceptance of what is. And if we really understand that we are on a journey to learn not only to give, but also to receive perfect love, the chances are there's going to be a hard learning curve on that. If we're at all honest about ourselves, we know it's going to be a hard learning curve. So I think what we're really looking for, my experience and my observation is that when these hard blows, come to our most tender self, we don't actually recover in the sense that it ceases to be part of who we are. If you think of it in some kind of dynamic terms, I think of it that the heart just gets reshaped, and it never goes back to where it was. And what it is to progress, and you can use the word healing if you want to, is that we just recognize we are able to accept this was a necessary learning for me. And we don't have to color it any different than it is. We don't have to pretend to be braver than we are. We don't have to pretend to be less disappointed than we are. But at a certain point, no matter how much you're injured, you have to accept that this is my new reality. And the challenge is to accept it in such a way that we get bigger and kinder and more compassionate, and if possible, less afraid. Because, well, these are the things that happen. Swamiji was very practical about the ups and downs of human relationships, because when you're running a community, there's a lot of it. And he had two statements that were so simple and so brilliant. One was, these things happen. That's just what he said. These things happen. And the karma of it is often so complicated, you'll never figure it out. And the other thing he said simply was, you can't always control the feelings of the heart. That the feelings of the heart just have a power of their own. And what we have to accept is this is what happens. This is what happens to devotees. This is what happens to good people. And sooner or later, we have to pick up the broken pieces, and we have to reassemble them into whatever form they're going to look like. And then we have to think, well, what's left? What can I do now? I think of it in terms of if you're in a terrible accident and one of your limbs is amputated, there'll be a long period of time where you'll just lie on your bed and wish it wasn't so. But at a certain point, you have to just assess what you have left and think about what new reality you're going to form from this. And this is where Swami would talk about the words, well, healing is the word we're talking about now, but he would always talk about the word forgiveness also. He says it much better is to just use the word acceptance. This is what God has given me. And I think the ultimate healing from this, and it's a deep and interesting thought, is that it's never really other people that we trust. We naturally try to use good judgment in our relationships, but people are ever untrustworthy because you don't know what karma lies buried for you or for them. But what we have to trust is we have to trust God behind all the experiences. That whatever Divine Mother sends me, she will also send me the power to deal with it. And that's where our courage comes from. Our courage doesn't come from any false promise that other people will offer. Some people will be deeply sincere, but then life changes. So we have to put our trust from the beginning. I trust you because I trust God through you. I trust life because I trust God through life. And that, you see, is unchanging. That relationship is unchanging. And then becomes our whole star as we ride the waves of this life experience. So, my friends, let's send out a healing vibration of a particular kind. Whenever we're talking about rejection, we're talking about human loneliness and human suffering. And one of the main purposes of suffering is to make us compassionate, so that when we are inclined perhaps to inflict on others what has been inflicted upon us, we will respond first with kindness and compassion. And everywhere in the world, there are lonely people who are longing to be loved and understood. And sometimes that love and understanding comes in person through individuals, but also there's the mysterious power of divine light, which touches everyone's heart every once in a while. And all darkness and evil in this world come because people are not consciously aware of Divine Mother's love within them. So let our prayer this evening be a special, deep prayer, that all those who are suffering from loneliness, who are feeling that they are unloved in this world, find themselves suddenly uplifted in ways they may not even understand by a touch of Divine Mother's grace coming into them. So visualize anyone that you may know who needs this particular touch. And then feel also, going out from your own heart and from the hearts of all of us, this unique, compassionate touch of divine love from Divine Mother for all her needy children. Feel that energy flowing through. Feel that light expanding. Feel how the channel is blessed by that which flows through it. And as we concentrate on sending Divine Mother's compassionate love to others, let us accept within ourselves both our need for that compassionate love and its omnipresence within us always. Let us now also inwardly express deep gratitude that in all this large and lonely and confused world, we've been brought to God, gurus, and to one another. Om Shanti Shanti.